Ukraine's top military command says there's heavy fighting in frontline hotspots. And Kyiv says more than 24 battles took place in the past 24 hours around the eastern town of Bakhmut and further south. That's after Ukraine said it retook 3 villages in the west of the Donetsk region. Moscow has not commented on those villages, but said that it repelled attacks elsewhere in the east. We'll get reaction from Russia in a moment with Yulia Shapovalova in Moscow. But first, let's bring in Jonah Ho, joining us from the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. So, Jonah, tell us more about what we're hearing about the fighting near the front lines.
Lots of reports coming in the last 24 hours or so, and particularly even in the last hour or two, indicating what's been described as small but incremental progress for Ukrainian forces in these early days of their counteroffensive at various points along the front line. Focusing, it seems, on southern Donetsk region in the east, on or near the border of Zaporizhia region, which of course takes the front line further to the southeast and down all the way to the Sea of Azov. Military command talking about some 25 separate battles that have taken place, particularly in the south of Donetsk region, but also including around the city of Bakhmut, captured by the Russians, of course, just last month. And Russian sources appear to be confirming as well that they've sustained attacks to the south and northern flanks of that city of Bakhmut. And social media full of stories, of course, tweets and retweets showing Ukrainian soldiers holding up the Ukrainian flag in a number of these small villages that the command says have been liberated. Places like Blahodatne, Nekunechny, Makarivka, and in the last hour or two, as I said, a place called Storozheva. These are not household names, of course. Many Ukrainians probably will never have heard of these small villages, but they do represent, as I say, small steps in the counteroffensive, retaking even small pieces of land, and that is something, of course, that the Ukrainians want to make known. And they want to make known as well the impression that Russia is very much on the back foot. As a result of all of this, Hanna Maliar, the Deputy Defense Minister, in her daily briefing suggesting that Russia was moving some of its most capable combat forces from elsewhere on the front line towards these focal points in Donetsk region and Zaporizhia region. And indeed, there are reports from the Ukrainians that the Russians, in an attempt to slow Ukrainian advances, have blown up a dam on the Mokryali River. We can't independently verify that. It is apparently a small dam, but that, of course, comes just a week or so now after Russia is accused of blowing up the much larger Kakhovka Dam in Kherson region, causing what some experts have described as ecocide.
Okay, thank you. That's Jonah Hull reporting for us from Kyiv. Let's now bring in journalist Yulia Shapovalova joining us from Moscow. So as always in war, there are claims and counterclaims. Yulia, tell us what we're hearing from the Russian side.
At the moment, there is no official information regarding Russia's activity in the front line, but Russia continues fighting, obviously. Earlier, there were reports about heavy fighting in the Zaporizhia direction. The Russian side repelled all the Ukrainian attacks, according to the sources here. Now, military bloggers discuss situation in the southern Donetsk front. The Ukrainians tried to find weak spots in Russia's defenses there, and some defense lines have been reportedly broken. So Russian servicemen allegedly withdrew to more suitable for them positions due to the threat of being surrounded. On Monday morning, some Telegram channels basically reported heavy fighting in the area. Also, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that 94 Russian military men were released from the Ukrainian captivity after some negotiations, long negotiations, I should say, and all of those released soldiers will be taken to medical facilities for treatment and rehabilitation. So we're waiting for more information to come here.
Okay, thank you so much, Yulia Shapovalova, giving us that update from Moscow. Well, Ukrainian officials are saying that 3 people have been killed and 10 injured after Russian forces shelled a boat carrying flood evacuees from the Russian-occupied part of the Kherson region. Some 4,000 people were rescued from the flood zone. An attack on the Nova Kakhovka Dam last week flooded entire villages, and it left tens of thousands without power and clean water. Kyiv and Moscow accuse each other of destroying that dam. But for people living in Kherson, the flooding has only added to their suffering.
Today, we probably don't have a single family that hasn't faced the consequences of war, whether it's death, destruction or fear. People have become different. Children have become noticeably different. They've become more grown up.